Hello and welcome back to KeyDigital's Compass Control online training. This is level C1 part 8, editing ZRC and iOS modules. This portion will show you how to edit our modules and essentially create your own new modules by doing so for the Zigbee remote and for the iOS device, and it's actually quite a simple process. So when do you need to edit a module? Well, if you need to replace a piece of gear, we've talked about relying so much on our system design schematics. However, there's always the event that the client of yours may say, well, you know what? We thought we were going to use a flat screen display, but it turns out we're going to go with a projector, right? And so any module can be edited. It could mean removing one device and inserting another, but that other device that needs to be inserted, you need to have a module to insert that into a modular project, you see? And so we're going to teach you how to do that here. We're going to go over a standard video device, a projector in fact, but of course this could apply to various devices, the typical devices, as well as the special case devices. But then it gets into the special case devices and the kind of logic that we will educate you on in the manual for that specific special case device. So editing modules to create your own is all done in Compass Navigator in the module editor, which is accessed through the Create New Module button select when you hit File, then New. It allows you to edit existing modules, to create the new module, and we always recommend that you start within that same device category. Remember how these look in the GUI, right? The television GUI of the iOS device looks different from the Blu-ray player GUI of the in the modular project, for example. So if I'm going to edit or if I want to create a module for a projector, I'm going to be doing myself a favor by opening up an existing television or another projector module and editing that, as opposed to opening up the Blu-ray player module to edit it to become a projector or television. That just wouldn't make any sense at all. It's going to add a lot of work that would be unnecessary. So choose a device that you'd like to edit from within that same device category. And then from there, we would just press this, as you see, number 2, change library. Press that and jump into our default directory where we have our full IR library code set, RS-232 and TCP/IP as well, in the C program files KeyDigital Compass Control directory. And saving that module will give you actually 3 items. The .mod file, which is the module, the entire package, as we talked about, the graphics, the library, and the drivers and whatnot to go along with it. So the module is the entire casing. The LDX is the graphic files that go along with it. And as we see, the third highlighted blue item here in the folder, .lib, that is the one-directional code set in the case of the module that we'll be creating together here in just a moment. Now, we recommend that you save that into a separate directory, a separate location, not into the default C KeyDigital, so C program files KeyDigital Compass Control folder. We recommend you don't use that one because if you ever install our software, you might lose a lot of work by doing that. So then you're able to import your new module by selecting user module instead of local module, as we see there in number 2, and then just go ahead and find that .mod. So entering Compass Navigator here brings us into the previous project we were in, or starts you right in here if you are doing your very first Compass project. And now we're actually not doing a project though, are we? A custom project or modular based project. Instead, we are creating a new module. So let's just find where we want to put it. I'm going to put it here in my online training folder. Example module. And we press OK. And what you do now is a file open of one of our existing modules, which are all located in our default directory. That's C, Program Files, KeyDigital, Compass Control, Library, then Modules. And you have to decide, we recommend that you know what you want to edit. The best way, the recommended way to create a new module is to just edit one that we already have. So for example, if I come to Toshiba television here, let's say for example you thought it was a television. It turns out that your installation is going to require a projector. And perhaps we don't have the module yet for the projector device that you'd like to use, or that you need to use. So we open up something similar. For example, the iOS device, the layout is going to be, similar to the layout of our projector GUI module. Of course, you could adjust this as well. We look at the events and actions on the Zigbee remote control, for example, and under the television tab, you have your power on command. On your power off button, television tab, power off, right? So it looks like a project, but remember, this is our module editor that we're in right now. And it's the same thing here in the iOS device, power on, power off. We look across our iOS for our iOS 5 and the iOS 4, slightly shorter screen. So the trick here is to choose that module and come to Change Library in the properties there. And this brings you into our default IR one-way code set. Same thing like what we had seen previously when we looked at our C2 IR manager and we explored the action IDs. So once again, it's in our default directory as well. That's C, Program Files, or Program Files x86 if your computer has that, Compass Control, and Library, and IR database there. And let's just say that that projector is a Optima projector. So just scroll through till I find Optima. Here we are. And then you could choose from any of the devices in the Optima code set that we have, or the Optima library. Let's just say we go with this HD8000 here. And it should automatically move any commands with action IDs over. Oops. All right. Now this still says Toshiba TV all models, doesn't it? Well, the next step is to go to look at that Toshiba TV all models, and now it's the projector icon, so we know that's correct. And it tells us this brand is Optima projector in the model. So you reasonably, you'd probably want to grab a hold of that device there in the tree, which is the actual module, and just rename it. So now, if I go to any of my commands, we see Optima. Let's take a look on our iOS devices. Power off Optima. Now, some things you may want to do. It still tells us Toshiba here. So this is what? This is a logo. It is a PNG image file. So we could just head into Google, for example, if it's something we don't present or provide you with. Google image search. This one looks pretty decent. It's transparency. We could tell by that checkered background. So we'll save this image. And to bring it in, we go into our image library, and we have a module library here. Now, if you'd like to know more about browsing these libraries, that's all in C3 training videos. So here we are, icons, let's see, what else do I have? Device logo, here we go. And then this small blue plus. Brings in that singular image. There we are, down at the bottom. I could save my graphics library now. Then I just will drag this into that group, and it sets it at 00XY. So I reference the Toshiba, which is 170X and 0Y. Looks like this thing is a little different than the Toshiba though, so let's just, in order to center it, that looks decent. And now I can even get rid of that Toshiba logo. And this television, now we do in fact provide images in our default image library of various pieces of hardware, displays, projectors, source devices, etc. So let me go into the image library that is called default. And now that the default image library has opened, we go to the display tab where we have decent looking projector here. And another trick is to just bring this in as well and then reference the size. It even tells us in the name there, 180/96. So let's take this. Looks like it's maintained that aspect there, and move it on over. And now we could even get rid of the Toshiba television. Now you may look at some of these things and say, well, how about the smart? Maybe the projector doesn't typically have that. Not a problem. We're just showing you how easy it is to move these over. All of the button sets. So here's the smart. I could either delete it, or I would probably just make it invisible in case I ever want to return that in there. And group 3, which actually contains a list. There we are. So some of these you may want to adjust. We could check out the events and actions. And you see, for example, that Optima, of course, doesn't have a rewind function on there. And it seems like the Optima remote doesn't even have the numbers. It's a projector after all. So things can be removed, deleted if you wish. You'd also be happy to know that returning back into that module GUI images library, if you'd like to kind of restructure things, we actually have a tab called Back Grids. And it's basically a nice way to make everything look nice and neat here. And I believe in our GUI manual document, we tell you to begin it at probably 210x, and you could drop your buttons on top, and everything just looks nice and neat that way, doesn't it? If you have that little backdrop before you can then delete that background. So it's kind of a nice little placemat. And you saw that it came in and it was a little higher than some of these other buttons. That's because of depth levels, which we also explain in C3. So now I definitely recommend doing a save as, and you save this in a different place. So this, what we had saved before, example module, now we could say Optima what was it, HD 8000 module, and we have all three iOS formats and the ZRC format, and just dropping this module into the project is all you would need to do to put the Optima projector in your next modular build program. So now if I'd like to import that custom module, I'm able to do so. I believe I have it saved right in here. The previous version of that project, here we are, that completed modular project, Zigbee remote, and the iOS device, right? I can just come over to Program and Add Modules, and now that's located in a user module. So where did I place that? I had it on my desktop, Optima HD 8000. Here's a device. You add it in, and then most likely, if you had already if your system has its own construction tree and maybe you're replacing the old display with this new projector, then you'll rebuild, but that's not a big deal. We just come on over, drag to video, and then just kind of rebuild as we had done before. The AV receiver to one of the HDMI inputs, Blu-ray, Apple TV, and the TiVo as our cable box. Controlling flow, we just take the Optima, but first we must remove the existing device that is currently our TV device. Drag the Optima over, recompile the project. Very good. So let's go ahead and review editing ZRC and iOS modules. Now, editing is really just creating, isn't it? Because we have an existing module of a similar device type, and you're going to go into our Compass Navigator module editor to find a module that you'd like to edit, attach a new library from our libraries that are available to you, IR, RS-232, and TCP/IP. And by doing so and saving, you have created a brand new module. And if you've started by editing a module of ours that has both ZRC and iOS, then that means you've now created a module for that device with Zigbee remote control and the iOS devices, the 3 aspect ratios. And then to use that, you just go ahead and use any of your modular projects, brand new or existing. And when it comes time to import modules or to add modular devices, you'll just choose user library instead of local library. And it's really that simple to work with a device that perhaps our library of modules doesn't include yet. So, we thank you very much for attending C1 Part 8. We'll see you next time.